Okay, so today we have an update to a situation we spoke about a few days ago regarding the wedding cake situation. Now, in case you aren't aware of what that situation is, I'll give you a very quick recap. If you want to see a more in-depth video talking about the whole situation before this one, I did upload a video literally just a couple of days ago. But this is the account you need to be aware of. It's Sweet Grace by Malina Lee. And on her video, she makes a bunch of videos making cakes for weddings and parties, I guess, and whatever else. But recently she said she's been through a situation where she made these cakes for a wedding, and a bunch of drama happened within it, and she made a few videos talking about this. And long story short, a wedding coordinator came to her saying that they needed a cake for a wedding, didn't mention that they were wedding coordinators, so Malina just thought she was making the cake for the bride who came, but it was the wedding coordinator instead. The wedding coordinator even put a picture of her and her husband on the cakes instead of the bride and the groom, but at this point Malina just assumed that this was the bride. But then when Malina got to the wedding, the mother of the bride came up to him and was very angry about the price, first of all, and it was actually $5,000 more than what Malina charged the wedding coordinator. So based on this information, Malina believed that the wedding coordinator upcharged $5,000 for these cakes. Also, the mother of the bride ended up messaging Malina after the wedding saying that she wanted a $500 refund because Malina actually left the wedding early, but Malina says that in her contract it doesn't say how long she has to stay at the wedding for, but apparently the wedding coordinator told the mother of the bride that these vendors had to stay at the wedding. And she went back and forth with emails. I showed them in my last video. That is a very long story short, but now we actually have a new update with big twist in the story. So much so that I will say straight away, I'm a little skeptical. And that's not to say that this is untrue. It's just because we don't see any proof throughout this, and it does sound like a crazy story. So it might definitely be 100% true, but I'm not 100% convinced, and I'm not 100% convinced with many of the topics we talk about in these videos. I say it all the time. I don't know 100% because I wasn't there. But I mean, I don't know. If this story is true, it's a crazy story. So either way, let's get into it.
I did speak with Miranda both through email and I did have a phone call with her, and here's the deal. So Miranda emailed me back, and when she emailed me back, she also sent me a copy of the invoice that she sent the bride and groom. So Miranda, essentially, this is what happened. She did not charge the bride and groom. She did not upcharge them $5,000, nor did she ever receive a $500 tip, she says, from the bride and groom that was supposed to come to me or to any of the other vendors. And she did not upcharge them $5,000. She upcharged them about 10%, which is, as I'm to understand, is the industry standard.
Okay, so straight away, the first big twist in the story, right? Because in my last video, it seemed like Miranda, the wedding coordinator, was like the villain in this story, right? She's going around just manipulating people and lying to people to pocket money for herself. But then we come to find out in this video that was posted 15 hours ago that Miranda isn't the villain. In fact, she's done everything by the book. She didn't upcharge $5,000. It was actually a 10% upcharge, which is apparently industry standard. So now at this point, you might be wondering, why would the mother of the bride lie about this? Well, that is another big twist in the story that we find out later.
She's brand new to this business. This was her first client ever. She acknowledged that she shouldn't have taken the client on because this was a really large wedding and a really large undertaking, and she was very inexperienced. So she acknowledged that she shouldn't have taken the client on, and her and I also spoke about the way that she filled my contracts out, the way that she filled my inquiries out and stuff like that, because I told her that it was dishonest, and she said it wasn't necessarily that she was being dishonest, she was just unsure of how to do things, and she didn't want to ask or seem inexperienced because she really wanted the client and she really wanted the order.
Right, so now we hear that Miranda is inexperienced, which is fair enough. Every wedding coordinator is going to have to do their first wedding at one point, right? But then this is where we get to parts where, to me, it doesn't seem to make much sense, but again, I'm not saying that this is a lie, right? It's raising some suspicions for me, but nowhere near enough for me to completely call this out for being a lie. I know actually in my last video, there was a lot of people saying that they didn't believe the story because it seemed far-fetched. If you thought that before, you're definitely going to think that now, but again, I don't know, is the honest answer.
She thought that it would be best to just fill out all the contracts and all the inquiries as if she was the bride herself because she really wanted the order and she was very inexperienced.
Okay, so apparently this wedding coordinator decided to fill everything out as if she was the bride, and this is why Malina thought that she was the bride and not the wedding coordinator, because she was inexperienced, which to me sounds a bit bizarre, because obviously I'm not a wedding coordinator, right? I have absolutely zero experience in that field. But even to me, that seems like a very strange thing to do. If I was a wedding coordinator, I don't think I would fill things out pretending to be the bride. But then it gets even more baffling, because Miranda apparently tries to explain why she put a picture of her and her husband on the cakes and not the bride and the groom.
I did bring up the bridal gift to her, and she apologized profusely, and she said that again, she just attributed it to her inexperience in the industry.
Okay, so apparently the reason why she put images of her and her husband on the cake for a wedding instead of the bride and the groom is because she's inexperienced. I'm sorry, it doesn't add up to me. And by me saying that it doesn't add up is not me saying that Malina is lying here, but I think someone is lying. And if this story is true and Miranda's excuse was genuinely because she was just inexperienced and that's why she put her and her husband on the cake instead of the bride and the groom, I don't believe that. I don't get how that could be an accident that you do. You're buying cakes for a wedding, they ask if they can have an image of the bride and the groom on the cakes, but instead of doing that, you put a picture of you and your partner or husband or whatever else on the cake. That is not a mistake that I can see anyone doing. To me, that has to be 100% intentional. I just can't personally say how you would actually do that. Of course you have to put the bride and the groom on the cake. Why would you put yourself on the fucking cake?
This is where things get so freaking weird. So,
okay, we're ready.
I never heard back from the mother of the bride, as I hoped that I wouldn't, but I did hear from the bride. This is the first contact I've had with the bride. I had no idea who the bride was. I was never given any of her information. I had no way to contact her. I didn't even know her name. So this was the first contact I had with her. She saw my TikTok videos and she did reach out to me via email, and I also had a phone call with her. And this is where things got so weird. So
okay.
The bride reached out, and the mother of the bride is not actually the mother of the bride. She is the groom's mom, so it is the bride's mother-in-law.
Right, look, this is what I mean with this story being absolutely crazy. And again, if it did happen, fair enough, you have got a brilliant story out of this, because this doesn't happen very often. But the amount of twists and turns in the story that we've heard since my first video talking about this, it's crazy. It seems like someone could script this into a movie. But now we've just discovered that the bride's mum, who was fuming about this payment that apparently she has now lied about because she wasn't upcharged $5,000, wasn't even the bride's mum in the first place, but was the mother-in-law, the groom's mother. And now at this point we find out that the groom's mother is known for being a liar.
The bride's mom is actually deceased. She passed away prior to the wedding.
Oh, okay, sorry, before we even get into the whole lying part. Also, apparently the mother-in-law claimed to be the bride's mother, knowing fine well that the bride's mother was actually deceased, which is mental.
The bride said that she is notorious for being a liar, and a lot of the situation that the mother of the bride presented to me was indeed fabricated. I asked the bride if she could send me if there was any picture proof that she felt comfortable providing me with, and she did send me the invoice that Miranda sent her, and it was the same invoice that Miranda sent me. So Miranda was telling the truth about how much she upcharged them, which was the standard 10%. Is my understanding that it's the industry standard, and the bride felt okay with it.
Okay, so it turns out that the mother-in-law is just a known liar who is even going to go as far to claim to be someone that is actually deceased. Not just someone, by the way, the mother of her son's now wife. But also on top of that, she is now trying to scam people at her son's wedding, trying to get an extra $500 for a refund for something that just wasn't even true in the first place, and is even trying to drop this wedding coordinator in it by making lies about her, saying that they got upcharged $5,000, which isn't true apparently. Also lied about the fact that she gave a $500 tip to all the vendors, but this wedding coordinator decided to pocket it all and steal it all. So she is apparently just straight up trying to ruin this Miranda's whole career. On her first wedding do, by the way. What a horrible way to start. But yeah, if we weren't, let's carry on with the story.
Bride also told me that she did do the tasting with Miranda, just as Miranda had said. And the bride sent me some pictures of her mother-in-law, and it was the woman that spoke to me at the venue. This woman is not a lawyer. She's not an attorney. She's not even in that field at all.
Oh, okay, so she lied about being a lawyer as well. Of course, when she sent the email originally, she said that she's a lawyer in this field. And that's why she requested this whole, $500 refund and almost insinuated that if she doesn't get the $500 refund, that this is going to go further. I mean, again, a very wild story. I would love to know people's opinions in the comment section down below, because, of course, this could definitely be true. Of course, it might not be, but it is a wild story either way. I would have just loved to maybe see some form of proof, you don't have to show people's names or anything like that, but just show proof that these conversations happened. Of course, it's Malina's video, she can do whatever the bloody hell she wants, but for me personally, in a selfish way I guess, I just wish that we could have saw some more proof just to see if this is 100% real. But that's not to say that this didn't happen. Of course, Malina can make a video on whatever she wants to.
Mother-in-law didn't pay for any of the services, so Miranda paid for my services. Miranda paid for, as I understand it, Miranda paid for all of the vendor services, and she invoiced the bride and groom, and the bride and groom paid Miranda. So the mother-in-law did not give any vendors $500 tips. She didn't pay for anything.
I mean, look, right, there are definitely people out there that will make lies up like this and try and ruin people's reputation for absolutely no reason. I'm not saying that it's impossible for someone to do stuff like this. It's just the amount of twists in the story that are like are mad. And again, if this is true, they should make a movie out of this. It'd be a good watch. But yeah, I'm just going to carry on reacting to this video as if it is real, because I have no proof to suggest that it's not real. But this mother who has lied about this, I would love to know what her thought process was here. Of course, people do just lie. I mean, we did this whole series on Legion and the who the fuck did I marry situation. There are people out there who will just lie for no reason at all. But in this case, how did the mother-in-law not think that this would be brought up and that the truth would be revealed? Because of course, if she's going to have this conversation talking about how angry she is about the price and even email further to try and get a refund, of course Malina is going to reach out to the wedding coordinator, because the mother-in-law is blaming the wedding coordinator for all of this. So the truth was always going to come out. So I don't understand the thought process. Like, how would you think you'd get away with this?
About Miranda not being at the venue and the whole thing about vendors being expected to stay on the premises till a certain time, even though my contract and none of our contracts stated that. And the bride told me that Miranda was not on the premises of the venue, but that Miranda was helping her with something behind the scenes. She didn't specify what.
Okay, so in the last video, we heard that the wedding coordinator wasn't even at the wedding, wasn't doing her job, and that these vendors were supposed to stay and cover for her as she wasn't there. And this is why the mother-in-law, that we now know, actually asked for the $500 refund, because she said that Malina was supposed to stay and cover for the wedding coordinator. But apparently the wedding coordinator was there. She was just helping out the bride, which the bride was okay with and needed help for something.
I did ask the bride why I specifically was like targeted, or why, if any of the other vendors experienced this with the mother of the bride, and she said she didn't know, but she feels like I was just an easy target because I was there at the venue alone, setting the desserts up, and nobody was really near me to hear what she was saying and that kind of thing. Like, it was just kind of a perfect storm.
Okay, so it seems like she got really unlucky and she just became like a target of the mother-in-law in some weird way. And it also sounds like the mother-in-law got really lucky with her story, first of all, right? Because if we go back to the original videos, we heard that the mother-in-law, or what we thought was the bride's mother at first, came up to her and was very angry about the price and was blaming Miranda straight away. And then following that, literally after the bride's mother has decided to blame Miranda, Malina actually give these cakes that has Miranda's face on it, which just kind of glues the story together and shows Miranda is the evil person behind all of this. So I mean, she got very, very lucky, because she decided to show up and blame Miranda for something she didn't do, and then it just so happens that Malina had these cakes with Miranda's face in it when it was supposed to be the bride and the groom's face, which of course would definitely back up the mother-in-law's story, right? So she did get very, very lucky with her story. She hit the jackpot, it seems.
The bride feels like it was just a really easy lie, and it was just really easy for her to contact me because people like, again, the DJ and the photographer and stuff like that were there with the bride and the groom at the event, and because I was just basically delivering, setting up, and leaving, I was just an easy target.
Okay, so that is the end of the story. I would love to know your opinions in the comment section down below. It is a wild twist in the story. If you go back to my last video, this is probably the last thing that I expected to hear in the update. But apparently this is what happened. I would love to know your opinions in the comment section down below. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like down below, subscribe if you are new, and until the next one, I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, goodbye.